So let's just begin. Today there was an attack on the Louvre where a fellow named Abdullah, the last name not given, was risking his life to try to sneak paint bombs into the Louvre, which is quite certainly one of the most important repositories of all of the artistic output of classical civilization for some centuries. Why do you think why would a Muslim risk his life to try to get paint bombs into an art gallery?
Well, let's go back a bit so that we can understand it. And by the way, I think that before we get through talking about the art, at the very end, we need to talk about the artists in our civilization who seem to think that this is nothing to worry about. That is, I find that my artist friends come closer to supporting Islam than condemning Islam. But with that sidebar created, let's go back and remember how the Taliban brought in bombs to destroy the Bamyan Buddhas?
Oh yes, the 100-foot tall Buddha statues.
Yes. And do we remember how when one of the government overthrows in Egypt, one of the things the crowds did was attack the museums?
In fact, yes, and they specifically went in and took out art and manuscripts and burned them and destroyed as much stuff from the Egyptian archaeology and art museums that they could.
And can we go to the Sphinx, which is missing its nose?
Indeed.
That was also done by Islam. Now let's go back to when Baghdad fell. What happened in the museums in Baghdad? They were destroyed as well. So what I'm trying to do here is to say this is not some freak event. This is part of a pattern. But the pattern has its origins 1,400 years ago. When Muhammad conquered Mecca, one of the things he did was, it was said that at the Kaaba there were religious art of 360 religions. He personally, with his own hands, destroyed some of the art and issued commands to his lieutenants to destroy the rest of it. Then soon after that, he sent Khalid, the sword of Allah, to destroy a site of worship for one of the, I forget the name of the god that was worshipped there. But anyway, so he destroyed that art site, which was art devoted to the worship of a particular god. So what I'm trying to say here is we should not be surprised. These paint bombs are part of civilizational war. Civilizational war started by Muhammad 1,400 years ago.
Is there a scriptural basis for the intense hatred and attempt at destruction of art?
Of course. You know, one of the things, some people think that Islam is not easily understood, but I find it to be hyper-rational. And the art was destroyed because, first off, Muhammad revealed that Allah doesn't like art. One of the things was, I remember one time the Archangel Gabriel didn't visit him for a while, and it turned out there was a picture of an animal in the house. And so Gabriel said, angels will not enter a house with a dog or art in it. Well, this is the Archangel Gabriel, so that's a pretty high command. So we find that art is not encouraged. Let me ask you this. What was the last great Muslim symphony you went to?
I don't think there ever was one.
You didn't go to one because there isn't one, because music and art are highly discouraged. So, and I want to tie this back now to the irony of the fact that in the West, most artists are left of center and look upon Islam as something wonderful, but it is the purpose of Islam to destroy all art because it is jahiliyya. It is the art of ignorance. It comes before the art of Islam. So, and the art of Islam, I'm not sure what that is, I guess calligraphy. So jahiliyya, the day of ignorance, is what all this art is from, and it is offensive to Allah, which is really a peculiar concept to me, that God would be offended by artistic expression.
Now, I remember reading that it was incumbent upon Muslims to destroy evidence of the existence of anything from before the time of Islam, so even to the extent where the Saudis have ordered that any archaeological finds from before the time of Muhammad were not to be exhibited or dug up or fully exposed, and even maybe destroyed.
By the way, there's something very intriguing here. There's a wonderful scholar by the name of Dan Gibson, who has done a lot of work on was Mecca the city of the mosque in the Quran. And one of the things he did was he talked with some of the man speaks Arabic, and he's lived for years in the Middle East. And he got to speak to some of the contractors who were doing the work of expansion of the Kaaba in Mecca. He said, by the way, he said, I have a question for you. What are the relics you're digging up as you find things? And they said, we're not finding anything. What this implies is that Mecca is a relatively recent city and didn't have any archaeological digs down under it anyway. But Islam does not favor archaeology because what is the story I just told you? Archaeology does not prove the existence of Mecca at the time of the Quran. So archaeology does not have a favorable place inside of Islam at all. Because even if there were things there, they would be before the age of Allah, or the time of Allah, the time of Islam.
So I know that I have also seen videos of Palestinian, quote, archaeologists, unquote, who actually run pile drivers, destroying any evidence of Jewish existence before that in the area of Gaza from before the time when it became an Islamic area. Would that be consistent with this?
I've not heard the story, but it would be totally consistent that if you do find anything before the time of Allah, or I say the time of Muhammad really, then it should be destroyed because it is offensive to Allah. It is offensive to Islam. This is all part of the concept of civilizational war. I maintain that the civilizational war concept of Islam is the most profound concept of war in the existence of human beings. Nobody today dies for Caesar, Alexander the Great, Napoleon, but someone today will die because of Muhammad. It is an ingenious thing which moves war from just kinetic warfare to ideological warfare, civilizational warfare, cultural warfare. I mean, Islam is the most ferocious enemy civilization has ever seen because its purpose is to replace our civilization completely. Our music, our art, our sculpture, everything is to go down. Our architecture is to all be yielded to the art of Islam and civilization of Islam. It's total war, highly ingenious and very practical.
So this might be a good time to revisit your sidebar. And what do you have to say to the artists that seem to take a fashionable position against what's obviously their own interest?
This is what causes my heart to weep. The facts don't seem to matter. All that matters is the feelings. But I'll say this to my art friends. Islam is against everything that you do and say. They will use your vote for the current Islamization, but once Islam takes over, you'll meet a new Islam and your art won't prosper, whether it's music. Now, you know, maybe the poets will prosper some because there is some poetry in Islam, but in the rest of the art, nah, no way. So this is a serious, look, they attack our art, they attack our architecture, they attack our education, they attack our history, they attack everything. It is a civilizational war, and our artists are just part of it. And our artists should be supporting us instead of supporting the art destruction of Islam.